Welcome, everyone. Today we are exploring a biological lottery ticket handed to India exactly once in its history, our demographic dividend. This analysis is a realistic, data-focused look at our massive workforce potential, the structural hurdles currently stalling job creation, and the immediate policy changes required to safeguard our future before the window shuts. Let's look at the foundation of our potential, the accidental miracle. Right now, India sits at an incredible demographic sweet spot with a median age of just 28. Compare that to China at 39, Europe at 44, or Japan at 49. Our dividend window officially opened in 2011 and is steering us directly toward a peak between 2030 and 2040. But biological windfalls don't last forever. Our total fertility rate is in steady decline, which means this youth boom mathematically wraps up by 2051. The clock is already ticking. This timeline maps out our exact economic runway. The window opened back in 2011. Right now, we are in a hypercritical phase where 12 million young people enter the labor market every single year. As we march toward the peak decade of 2030 to 2040, we hit our maximum economic potential. If we let jobless growth squander these prime years, we will hit a wall in 2051, where our fertility rate drops permanently below the replacement rate, aging accelerates, and the opportunity shuts forever. This brings us to our primary structural paradox. On paper, India's headline data looks exceptional, sustaining a GDP growth rate above 7% for over a decade, making it one of the fastest-growing major economies in the world. Yet this masks a deepening structural failure. Our employment elasticity, the ratio of jobs created relative to economic growth, has collapsed toward zero. We are experiencing a highly capital-intensive expansion. The economy is growing rapidly, but actual jobs aren't keeping pace, leaving 12 million new job seekers stranded annually. The direct consequence of this structural gap is a compounding youth unemployment crisis. In our urban areas, youth joblessness has surged well past 15%, locking millions out of the formal economy. Even more alarming is the NEET factor. 1 in 4 young Indians are currently not in employment, education, or training. This has created a bizarre reverse education premium, where university graduates actually face higher rates of joblessness than their primary educated peers. This brings us to India's graduate gamble. We have built a massive tertiary education system, but it is suffering from an acute skills deficit. HR evaluations show that up to 95% of our engineering graduates lack the industry-ready technical skills needed to get hired. They face a literal graduate penalty. At the same time, our female labor force participation rate remains low compared to our regional peers, meaning half of our potential national workforce is left completely off the economic grid. Historically, India had a highly reliable economic sponge, the IT and business process management sectors, which absorbed millions of graduates for 30 years. But we have run directly into the automation trap. The IMF explicitly estimates that emerging markets face a 40% job exposure to AI disruption. The entry-level tech, data, and back-office roles that built our middle class are the exact ones vanishing the fastest. Let's unpack this white-collar threat. Generative AI isn't just an incremental software update, it is actively erasing traditional employment ladders. The tasks millions of our graduates trained for, basic coding, data entry, customer support, and preliminary analysis, are being automated at a fraction of human cost. This puts millions of degree holders at immediate structural risk. Without a sweeping, urgent policy pivot toward advanced human-AI collaboration, this demographic dividend will transform into a severe national liability. If our white-collar sectors are facing technical contraction, manufacturing must step up. However, our industrial strategies reveal a critical missed opportunity. The government's flagship production-linked incentive (PLI) scheme committed a massive 2.16 lakh crore rupees. Yet it has generated just 14.39 lakh jobs cumulatively. When your country requires 12 million new jobs every single year, a high-tech manufacturing push alone simply cannot bridge the gap. This brings us to a stark scale mismatch. The 2.16 lakh crore rupees PLI outlay was heavily concentrated in high-tech, capital-heavy sectors. We effectively deployed massive subsidies to build factories that require machines, not human hands. Generating under 15 lakh jobs means our primary industrial push satisfies less than 2% of our annual employment demand. This is a catastrophic policy shortfall that directly threatens our demographic window. To understand where we stumbled, we have to look at our neglected, labor-intensive sectors. Our textile industry employs over 45 million workers and has massive labor absorption capacity, yet it has been severely underfunded. We rank second globally in leather production, but rigid labor frameworks stop local plants from scaling up. In the garment sector, Bangladesh has scaled to over $40 billion in exports, while Vietnam has surpassed us in footwear. We starve these low-capital, high-employment engines of structural priority. This policy tilt has directly triggered capital flight to our neighbors. Global manufacturing capital leaving China isn't looking for heavy automation subsidies. It's looking for regulatory and labor flexibility. Bangladesh capitalized on this by creating agile frameworks, pushing garment exports to $47 billion and absorbing millions of low-skilled workers. Because of persistent bureaucratic friction and rigid internal compliance laws within India, migrating global capital is actively bypassing us. Let's face the cold reality of demographic arithmetic. Our total fertility rate has dropped to roughly 2.0, which is below the replacement baseline of 2.1. This means our youth boom is mathematically finite. Once we clear our peak decade in 2040, our population trajectory will shift into accelerated aging until the window shuts completely by 2051. We are running out of time. This brings us to the defining question of our era. Will India grow old before it grows rich? The cold macroeconomic equation is brutal. Underemployed, underskilled youth today will inevitably morph into an unmanageable pension and healthcare crisis tomorrow. By 2050, this massive generation will transition into dependence. If they fail to build personal wealth and generate robust national savings right now, they will deplete our national fiscal capacity long before we transition into a high-income country. To rewrite this script, we need a targeted policy blueprint implemented before 2030. Step 1 is an immediate rebalancing of industrial incentives. We must pivot our state outlays and wage subsidies away from highly automated clusters and aggressively pump them into labor-intensive industries, specifically apparel, leather, footwear, and consumer goods. These sectors generate the maximum volume of employment per rupee spent and can instantly absorb millions of semi-skilled youth. Step 2 demands an absolute structural overhaul of higher education by 2028. We must systematically dismantle our legacy rote learning setup. The state should mandate institutionalized, industry-linked apprenticeships across all tertiary degrees. Students must graduate with industry-tested capabilities, not empty paper certificates. Curricula must be reoriented entirely toward human-AI collaboration, critical thinking, and vocational mastery. If our graduates aren't fully AI literate by 2028, this dividend becomes a structural debt. Step 3 is aggressively clearing out regulatory bottlenecks by 2030. Externally, we need a rapid FTA push with the EU, UK, and GCC to unlock global corridors. Market access fills factory lines far better than subsidies ever will. Internally, we must achieve genuine single-window execution, unifying land acquisition and labor compliances. We must eliminate the bureaucratic drag that currently reroutes global capital to Vietnam or Bangladesh. Streamlined execution is non-negotiable for job scale. In conclusion, our raw components are fully assembled. The numbers, the individual youth ambition, and the macroeconomic potential are sitting right in front of us. But time does not pause for policy hesitation. The clock is running down. The choices we execute over the next few years will dictate whether India builds an enduring economic superpower or entirely misses its greatest moment in history. Thank you, and let me know your thoughts in the comments section.